Did y'all do homework? Yes. Do y'all remember homework? I am in Him. Correct. To spend the day reflecting on, I am in Him. So if you did homework, you would have felt there's a definite shift in the way we feel. And remember, it's so natural for us to want the highest, but we have to climb every step of the ladder to get to that highest point. And so all these exercises that the Gita itself is suggesting to us to be able to build is those steps that we take. And sometimes when we're doing, some days, you have to do your exercise or some cleaning or some mundane task that and then we feel, oh gosh, when's this going to end? And some days there's just momentum and you're present and then you think, oh, it's finished. And so too in the spiritual journey, if we keep thinking how I'm doing, how I'm not doing, am I progressing, am I not progressing, then that itself consumes so much of our time. Whereas if we just keep doing our sadhana, we keep doing our reflections, we keep doing, and then we'll notice that, oh, shifts have been made. I have changed. I am experiencing, and they're subtle and sometimes hard to describe to anyone else, but we ourselves are able to experience them. And so Bhagavan here said, I am not in them. First he said, they are in me, but I'm not in them. And then he said, they are not even in me, and I am not in them, because emphasizing this relationless relationship is the term coined by Gurudev, which then gets explained via an example. And this is one of the things that make the Gita so beautiful. The Gita will give an analogy for us to be able to understand the point. And so it's like really helpful. You can see Krishna's really making it as applicable as possible. And understanding that Arjuna would have already been a fairly fit student and grasping a lot, but still we are all listening behind Arjuna's shoulders. And so sometimes the analogy is for us, but also understanding that Arjuna at that point in time, when the Gita is taught, is in the middle of the battlefield. And so, of course, he's not also at his most intellectual mood. And so sometimes you need to buffer the knowledge with all these kind of analogies and examples to make it easier. And Arjuna may not have needed it, but we definitely need it. And so there's this beauty of the Gita is that it caters to this clarifications that support us in our understanding. So we'll chant together, verse number 6. Yata kasha stito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan tata sarvani bhutani matstani tyaparaya. Matstani tyupa dhyarayat. That all these beings reside in me. How? Yata kasha stito nityam vayu. Vayu being wind, the way wind resides in space. How do all of us exist in God? The way wind resides in space. Now this example itself is also many, many, many different layers. But firstly, to draw the difference between what is wind and what is space, because even though it might seem like it's very obvious, sometimes it's not. So easiest way for wind to understand is it moves. And so we will feel. Even right now, the AC is on and we can feel. And that's wind, our breath, movement. And so wind. And of course, on a nice day when the wind is strong, we can definitely feel it. Space doesn't move. Space is just there. And everything is in space. Not just air. In fact, air is the most subtle. Even we in space, all these objects are in space. Wi-Fi is in space. So absolutely everything is in space. But when we see creation theories in the Upanishads, its first thing that is mentioned is space. Being the subtlest of all elements, it's the closest to unmanifest. It's the closest to formless. Because really, space, we cannot see any kind of form to space. It's just there. We know it's there because we are in it and we can see each other. And because of space, we can see the distance between you and I, and we can assess that. And it takes that distance to cover, to go to somewhere, so we know space is there, but we can't really see it. We can infer it, but we can't really see it. And air moving in space. So even right now, when the AC is working, you can't see air moving in space. Yeah. Can feel it, but we can't see it. And so again, remember avyakta murtimam, meaning unmanifest, or here in the sense that doesn't have a form. To really lift the mind. In chapter 9 already, we're lifting the mind that Bhagavan doesn't have a solid form. It's more this vastness and the sense of space, but even air, because air is also not visible. Again, we can infer air, wind, we can't see wind. Things blowing in wind, then we can see it. Otherwise, we can't see it. And sometimes in Hong Kong, we get those horrible typhoons, and you'll be able to hear it, that whistling of the wind, but you can only hear it because there's so many buildings. Otherwise, you can't even really, well, you can. Wind is a little bit, you can, but it's usually because it's going through something on its own, not really, right? Even in terms of the clouds. But often our windows are closed and it's so quiet and still inside that you think, really, there's a typhoon going outside? And only when you look out of the window and you see the tree bent all the way to the ground, you think, oh, okay. Yes. So we infer. We can't really see wind. We can see what it's doing, and so we know it's there. Wind is formless, space is formless, but the difference is wind moves. And so in creation theory, there was space, and then from space comes air. And this, if we can go into it because even this is very, very subtle. Actually, what it's said here is, and it's going to be talking about creation theory in the next few verses, so I'll just build up the foundation of it. It's saying that nothing happens. When did it say that? Last verse, in verse number 5. Remember, it says that everything is snake, but actually there's rope. So in rope doesn't move, rope doesn't scare, rope doesn't have poison, rope doesn't do anything, it's just sitting there. But snake is threatening, and snake is moving, and snake is poisonous, and so we reacting to snake, and so all this drama that is going on in our minds reacting to snake because we think it's there, and then actually there's just rope there. And so what was all that drama in our mind that we were reacting to the snake? Because there was so much fear, but it was just a rope and we wouldn't be scared of rope. And then sometimes we feel pain also from the bite of the snake but there was just a rope. And how come I'm feeling pain and the poison is coming up and I feel like, I'm going to suffocate and I'm going to die, and there's only rope. And then all the yelling and screaming and telling everybody else, and then they also yelling and screaming, and then they get one bat and they come to beat the snake, but there's no snake. So all that anger and all that excitement, and what's there? Rope. And what's our reaction to rope? Like zero thought, zero drama to rope, but yet there was all that drama going in and out. And what was all that drama? Was mind playing. Yeah. Sometimes you'll see, like if there's water nearby or if there's something, and then light will be falling on the water and then it falls on the wall, and then there's all these patterns. It's just playing. The wall is solid, steady, absolutely nothing is happening to the wall. And yet there's all these light and it's moving and then it shines and then it does. And then there's shadow and then there's, what's our mind? That playing of light on that wall. But what's actually there, that solid, steady wall, is the peace in our mind, that consciousness, that truth that is there in our mind, that steady, solid there. And then all these thoughts playing, just playing, that's all. Yet, we don't see it as playing. We see it as fear and anger. And we do all the far too much. When nothing is actually going on, it's just rope. No reaction whatsoever to rope. And so here too, air. Space doesn't move, so it wouldn't be playing. Space is steady, sthita. And then air is the first one that moves. And so air is the first one that's illusion. Huh? From truth came space. From space came air. Truth is steady. From truth came space. Space is steady. From space came air. Where did movement come from? The previous two is steady. Suddenly now there's movement. Movement is illusion. Yeah. At that point in creation, which point in creation? From truth came space, from space came air. Air already is illusion. And then remember, from air comes fire, from fire comes water, from water comes earth, and then all five mix together to make my mind. And so my mind's made with illusion plus illusion plus illusion plus illusion plus illusion plus illusion. Space plus air plus fire plus water plus earth. And so there's movement. In my mind there's movement. But that movement is illusion. Now illusion is not a horrible thing. Remember the wall and the light playing on the wall? Is that a horrible thing? So pretty. In fact, if you put a toddler there, the toddler will look at it staring for hours. Even I'll stare at it for hours actually, because it can be so meditative, it can be so, and really just so beautiful. And so this movement in my mind creating all these thoughts, is it horrible? No. Not at all. If I just let the thought come and if I let the thought go, if I let it come, let it go, let it come, let it go, no problem whatsoever. No problems. When does the problem occur? When a thought comes and then I hold that thought. And then I think it to be real. Any thought, right? Even, like a very proper, serious work thought, I have to pay the bills. Thought came. Then I hold, have to pay the bills, I have to pay the bills. Now what will we feel? Stressed, pressured, suffocated. But that's because of the way I'm holding the thought. And letting the thought go doesn't mean you don't work to pay the bills. Please, I want to emphasize this. It's holding the thought and thinking this is more real than everything else. So when the light is playing on the wall, what's real? The wall's real? Very good. What else is real? Light is real. Very good. What else is real? The movement's real? No? Because I said movement is illusion, you have to repeat what I said. Otherwise, I'll say, what kind of students are y'all? One more thing's real, well, relatively real. Reflection, beautiful. Reflection is there, otherwise the light wouldn't be on the wall. Otherwise, just wall is there. I'm not seeing anything on the wall. But because there's reflection happening, I am seeing the light on the wall. And yes, the light is there. So, wall is real, light is real, reflection's real. Yeah. But when I have a thought, I forget. Wall. Wall in my mind is consciousness. Forgotten. Light. Consciousness. Forgotten. And reflection. Taken very seriously. And not the whole reflection. That one thought. If I was just watching all the play of light on the wall, it's pretty. But if I zoom in on one spot, and with now that spot only matters, I miss the whole play. And so, just like air moves in space, this example is actually misleadingly sounds simple. It's not simple. The example is also very, very deep. Yes, if we don't understand the depth of it, we can understand space is still and air is moving. In the same way, God is still and steady and vast and big, like space is vast and big. And just like space accommodates everything inside of it, truth, God, divinity accommodates everything inside of it. So from that point of view, the example works and is already doing a great job in explaining. But then it has all these other layers to it, where it shows us that movement is, it's a play. Movement's not actually there. It's a play. And so now let's talk about this movement that we get so wrapped up in. Bhagwan is now going to explain that, this movement, this creation, because when he says there's just rope and there's no ghost and I'm not the ghost and I'm also not even you're projecting off the ghost on the rope and there's nothing there except that infinite truth, then we'll say, but where did all of this come from? And so he is explaining where did all of this come from. And so we will chant 7 and 8 together. Sarva Bhutani Stani Kalpado Visruja Prakritim Swam Avastabhya Vishrajami Purah Purah Bhutagramamidam Krishnam Avasham Prakrite Vasam. So in chapter 8, Bhagwan already introduced kalpas. So time is cyclical. Usually when we think about time, we think of time as linear. What does that mean? That there was yesterday, today, tomorrow. And so we think of time as very, very linear. But now even Western physicist has found that time is cyclical. It's actually going constantly in circles. And so the way we experience time as being cyclical is day, night, day, night, day, night, day, night. And then the seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter, spring, summer. Or in terms of us, maybe our festivals. Now it's our birthday, now it's the anniversary, and now it's Diwali, and now it's... what else do you all celebrate here? Ganesh Chaturthi, and now it's... and so you're just going from one festival and one celebration to the next, and then back to this, again, this birthday? Like, didn't we just celebrate this one's birthday? Okay, let's go back to this one's birthday. And so we experience time as a cycle. Even though we think of time as linear, we experience time as a cycle. Now, if you zoom out in terms of thinking of time as a cycle, then in our life, we think birth, childhood, youth, adult, old age, right? And so that's why we think time is linear, because it's my birth, and then I progressively get older and older and older until I reach what I will say end, death. But if you zoom out, every day in hospitals all over the world there's birth. Every day in hospitals and homes all over the world, there's death. Every day somebody's turning sweet 16. Every day somebody's turning 40. Every day somebody's turning, at any given point in time, there's someone or the other at some point in their cycle. And we'll look back, and if we've already passed that stage, we'll think, oh, that was such a nice phase. Or if we see the teenagers, we think, oh, I'm glad I'm done with that. And then if we see parents of teenagers, we think, I'm really glad I'm done with that. And so here it is. When I think of just my life, birth, childhood, youth, middle age, old. But when I see all of creation, everything exists at the same time. All of the cycle is there all at the same time. And we'll see that more in chapter 11 in Vishwarupa Darshan, where actually time is not at all linear. And then if we zoom out further, just families, you can see lineages, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. So it's just today I saw this Instagram. For me to be born, I needed 2 parents. Now you guys help me with the math, okay? And then 4 grandparents, then 8 great-grandparents, then 16 great-great-grandparents, and then 34, 32. See, I told you you'll need to help me. And then 64. And then, who's still doing the math here? If we go to the span of something like 4,000 people over a span of 400 years, for me to take this one birth, if we just keep going back, that's incredible to think about it that way. And the Insta reel is very profound because it says, that's how special your life is. Because from all those 4,000 people that have lived over the 4,000 years, so many adjustments, so many sacrifices, so much nurturing, so much giving. And then here I am, and I think it's just me and my parents. No, there's an entire lineage, and that lineage is made up of birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, birth, death. And even I'm just one link. Even after me, that lineage will just keep going. And so time is cyclical. Yeah. And when we see time as cyclical, it's actually very, very, the perspective shift is freeing, because if it's just this life, so much pressure. But I've lived lifetimes. And as many as I need to live, but how many daily do I want to keep living till I break that cycle? And so I existed, and will continue to exist. That's what time is cyclical meaning. And so if I think of time as linear, I get scared of death. If I think of time as a cycle, I know that I'll just continue. But here, and already in chapter 8, Krishna introduced that all of creation follows this cycle. Just like I am born and then die and to be born again, the entire creation is born. And the entire creation goes into pralaya. It's not death. It's a folding in. And the example given is sleep. At night when I go to sleep, I don't die. I just rest. And the next morning, if I went to sleep cranky, I wake up cranky. If I went to sleep cheerful, I wake up cheerful. The next morning, I wake up exactly the way I went to sleep. If I went to sleep not doing the dishes, I wake up and the dishes are staring there at me. And that's how creation works in terms of the whole universe as well. There's creation, and then there's happenings, and then there's pralaya, And then once again, there's creation. And where will you be when creation happens? Wherever you were when dissolution happened. Yeah. So if when dissolution happened, I was, an amazing meditator who could sit for 3 hours and clear my mind and a large heart which unconditionally loved, when creation takes place again, I'll just continue from there. If at dissolution I'm a useless, lazy, procrastinating, annoying, then when creation happens, I come back as useless, as annoying, as lazy, until I learn my lessons to be more efficient, to be more productive, to be happier. So here he's saying creation takes place again and again and again. There's this expansion and Vristrajamyam. There's this coming back. And then what creates this? Because Bhagwan said he's the rope and nothing's happening, and then there's all this creating going on, and then what's creating all of this? Because here he says, I send forth Mamikam. And so there's almost this sense of Bhagwan having a doership. And then here also he says that by my prakriti, and this bit is that these beings are helpless. So we are born again into creation, even if we don't want to. We are thrown back into creation. And this we experience, right? We definitely experience this. Like, we don't want to have to deal with something, thrown back into that. And so what's causing that? Then he's not here specified it, but he does say, and then from that we can infer, verse number 9. Nacha mam tani karmani nibadnante dhanam jaya. But here is udasina. When all of these creations and all of these happenings are happening, Bhagwan is udasina. I think in Hindi, the translation of the word of udasina is someone who's like very indifferent. But in Sanskrit, that's not the translation of the word. The translation of the word udasina in Sanskrit is transcending. So it's something like watching from above. The nice way to think about it is if you're sitting in the traffic, and this is any big city, like if you come to Hong Kong and if you're in the middle of Chimsachuri where the ashram is, there's so much crowd. And there's car traffic, and there's people traffic, and there's noise pollution, and it's everything. In the middle of Chimsachuri, there's restaurants, and there's bars, and then there's, the MTR, and then there's shopping, and then everything. And you can hear music, and you can hear chatting, and you can hear the beeping of the halls, and the tick, 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 tick of the... And then you come up to the 11th floor, where the ashram is. The ashram's on the 11th floor. And then, shant. And then I go to the window and I look down, and you can see all the people walking and all the cars moving, and then... But now, I'm not bothered. When I'm on the road and people are bumping me, and you can smell their sweat, and you can hear the noise, and you can... And then on the 11th floor, when you're looking down and they're crawling around like ants, udasina is I see it, but I'm not in it. And even from my vantage point of seeing it, everything looks nice when it's from higher up. I'm sure you've noticed this. That's why when you go tourist, any country, and you go as a tourist, the lookout points are high up. Because things will look better. Udasina is when you see life and all of creation and the cycle of time, but from above. And so then you see also what's creating. So Bhagwan's not choosing, you go be born in Jakarta. And you be born in the slums in India, and you will get to be intelligent, and you, no, no, no. Your luck this lifetime, we're going to make you. Why would Bhagwan do that? Bhagwan is like space, and air is moving in space. There's not going to be an attachment to any one outcome. So what's determining where we are? Karma. Karma is determining where we are. We make choices and then we reap results. And then sometimes we'll think it's not fair. We don't remember the choices we make. Even in this life. Do you always remember when the results come, what you did? Sometimes I'll be overly excited and I'll think I've gone traveling and I've eaten so much, and then I'll message the person sending me Bhiksha and tell them, send me only clear soup. I don't want to eat anything. In Jakarta, if I say that, y'all won't listen. But in Hong Kong, if I say send me something, they'll listen, because I've been living there 24 years, they're not going to. And then let's say I come back from my trip and now I haven't eaten in the flight, and I come back home and I'm starving, and then what comes to me? Clear soup. And I specify, don't send anything else. And they're actually scared in Hong Kong to send me more than because I'll scold them. So if I say only send this, they will only. And now I'm looking at clear soup and I'm so hungry because I didn't get food in the flight, and then I rushed here and then. But I asked. So who can I blame? And then I didn't remember. Of course, when I see the clear soup, I remembered. But so many times in our lives, we do this, right? We'll forget something on, we rush off. I was telling someone today that I plugged the phone in to get charged, but it wasn't switched on there. And so happily I went to sleep. And in the morning when I woke up, it wasn't charged at all. Who to scream at? Who do I blame? And I'll say, no, but I didn't know. But the result's the same. I should have checked. I didn't. I was tired. 300 excuses I can make, but the point is, it's my doing. I'll speak to people a certain way, and then later on karma will come back to me, and I think, why? Why are they being like this to me? And our spouses think, I wonder. Because our spouses can see very clearly all our faults. And so when karma comes back to us, they're thinking, yeah. But we thinking, what did I do? I'm so nice. Oh, we careless with our diet, and then some health issue crops up and we'll think, but what did I do, Bhagwan? I was nice to everyone. What is nice to everyone's got to do with your health issues related to your diet? Bhagwan's also scratching his head thinking, where's your logic and why are you blaming me? So creation happens. And we get thrown into this creation, and where and how are we thrown is determined all by the laws of karma. And it's so powerful to think about this. And we take it for granted. In fact, Hinduism is known for karma. Now, even in Hollywood movies, they will say, I guess it's my karma. And it's so popular now, this understanding of. And we will, as Hindus, we also refer to it, but we refer to it as, my prarabdha, or my luck that this keeps happening to me. And we think, a lot of people have a very biased view. Because they'll only blame karma when things are wrong. Right? Like I scored and I landed the most amazing job. Am I thinking, yeah, that's my karma? So, but when something goes wrong, then we'll think it's my karma and it's not fair and I don't remember what I did and I should. And then, but so many things go right. We have such beautiful relationships and we have successes and you know, we live in a relatively comfortable environment. And all that's also karma. Yeah. But actually, the idea of karma, which is going to be today's homework, is to be able to see the relationship between cause and effect. Yeah. And it's not always obvious, the relationship between cause and effect. Yeah. For example, I might be slightly irritated with you, and maybe I don't particularly like you. And so now you talking to me, and so I'm like, and then I'm on my phone, and then I'm on, Yeah. That's a cause. And I won't think anything about it because I don't particularly like you, and I don't want to have to deal with you. And so phone is such a nice excuse to not deal with you. And then, in fact, when you finally leave, I'll think, put my phone away. What's the consequences of that? You'll have to answer quickly. No consequence of that? Same thing will happen to me. Thank you for answering that. Because that's what we assume karma means. But that's not necessarily so black and white. Karma doesn't mean, and I have to say this very carefully, karma, the law is, and we've learned this and we teach this, what I do comes back to me. Yeah? But it's not so much the action that I do that comes back to me. Yes. It's how I made you feel that comes back to me. So if I slap you, doesn't mean I'm going to get slapped. If my slap hurt you, it means I'll get hurt. If my slap made you think, oh, thank you. Maybe, you know, when people go into shock or whatever, extreme example, just go with me. Then pain is not the outcome of that action. And then let's say you're my kid and you felt pain, but pain will still not be the outcome of my action. So what I do comes back to me is not literal. So now I ignored you because I don't like you. What's the consequence of that action? I'm not going to tell you all. You all think. There's so many consequences of this one action. What's today's homework? For you to be able to see the relationship between cause and effect. It's very nice to say it's my karma, but can I see? I need to be able to see it. I don't blame Bhagwan that I can't see it. I'm not seeing it. too many times something has happened to me and I sit quietly in front of Gurudev and I'll see exactly what I did. And of course, now it's too late to undo what I did. But now that I can see it, I can change course of my behavior. Which means I have to change course, and I'm giving you a clue here. I'm giving you a huge clue on your homework. I have to change the course of my thinking. Because why did I act that way with you? It's very clear. I didn't particularly like you. That's why I did it. If I liked you, then phone would have gone down and there would have been a hi. Okay, don't talk too much. Bhagwan is udasina, means Bhagwan doesn't hold any personal vendetta against us. Often we think, he's judging us. He is not judging us. He allows. Play. However you want to play, you play. Today a mama asked me also, the two sons are fighting. I said, let them fight. But they'll hurt each other. For how long? They'll get strong. You're looking at me, this is terrible advice. It's not terrible advice. This is what Bhagwan does. He lets us play. What if we hurt each other? He lets us hurt each other. Action, consequence, action, consequence. And then when we do hurt each other, consequence. We are not spared of consequence. I was with Guruji just a few weeks ago, and Guruji is following for health reasons, he's following a particular diet. And of course, devotees out of great love want to feed him all the things that aren't in accordance with the diet. And so she had taken this spoonful and was about to put it in his plate, and Guruji looked at her and said, oh? And then in Sanskrit he said, when doing the action, consider the consequence. And I thought, it was a spoonful of sabji only. It wasn't even like it was laddu or it was... I thought every action, absolutely every action, that's the motto we should be living by. This action, I need to consider what are the consequences. If I'm willing to take those consequences, happily do the action. And if I'm not willing to take the consequences, then I shouldn't do the action. And so, Bhagwan continues. Bhagwan says he is not bound. Mayadya
Suryate sacharacharam ketunanena kaunteya jagadvi parivartate.
I'm so loving that you all know the chanting. Bhagwan continues that says that under Prakriti's supervision, everything in this world, moving and unmoving, chara and achara, gets created. And because of Prakriti, Jagat viparivartate, the world revolves. So, Prakriti was introduced in chapter 7. The concept of Prakriti was introduced in chapter 7. I think it came earlier also, but got expanded more in chapter 7. What is Prakriti? The easiest way to translate it is matter. inert, solid. Yeah? But Prakriti is form, shape, qualities. So in Sanskrit, Nama, Rupa, Guna. We'll stick to the English. Name, form, and qualities. Now, most of us, this is what our minds will focus on. Firstly, form, right? We enjoy looking at form. And then, of course, everything has a name, and we want to be able to know it. But even more than form, we thoroughly entertained with guna. Guna is qualities, colors, fragrances, textures, and then within us, gunas is virtues, personality traits, attributes. Anything descriptive is guna. Adjectives are all guna. Okay? And so Prakriti is all of this variety. Otherwise, we think Prakriti is just inert. But no, Prakriti is variety. And truth, Bhagwan, divinity is oneness. And so here he's saying, in me, by me, maya, dyakshena, maya, inside of me, because of me, Prakriti then creates everything. Yeah. Here, Prakriti is also, we can say, Maya. The word Maya we have so many connotations of, so let's not use Maya. Creative potential. The ability to create. Prakriti is the ability to create. And where does that ability come from? Actually, it's fascinating to think about. Where does the ability to create come from? Come on, answer. Quickly. I like thinking faces. Computer. Oh, from the creator. And do you create? Of course you create. You created children, no? And then in your house, don't you create food every day? Create mess? Create problems? You don't create? I'm pretty sure you create. And then you have Canva, you create design for birthday invite. You're creating. This hairstyle. So many things you were creating. Where did creation come from? Where does it start? You are creating all the time. Tell me, where is creation coming from? Your mind? From within. Very good. Your mind. From desire. Nice answer. Your whole mind is creating? Think. And you think fast because I don't have time. Your whole mind is creating? Eyes, ears? Yes. We see and then we hear, and that gives us lots of ideas in terms of creating. I can see your logic. But the eyes itself don't create, they just give the ideas. Yeah. Eyes and ears give inspiration. So creation comes from inspiration? Interesting. Very good. You're getting close. From your past vasanas, bah. That's a very serious Vedantic answer. In a very simple way, thought. Some of you said that and I didn't hear it. Very good. Creation came from thought. Yeah. You cannot have creation without the thought. Whether the thought is inspiration, whether the thought is necessity. Very often necessity is mother of. Yeah. So thought. leads to creation. Prakriti is creation. Prakriti is thought. Prakriti is inspiration. She's not all bad. Plenty nice. And creation also is plenty nice. Just like that reflection on the wall. Plenty nice. Where's the problem? Me holding on. What do I hold on to in creation? Anything I create, I hold on to. If you take people's phones, then 16 pictures of the same thing. Why? Because they cannot delete their creation. And what did they create? Just press. And then worse, 16 pictures of their face in one outfit. Then next day, 30 pictures of their face in another outfit. Cannot delete. Why? I created. What did I create? What did I create? But I will hold on. My picture. And also I'm holding on to one more thing, not just creation. The sense of me. Because actually, this is very cool. I only created the sense of me. Me didn't exist. What existed? Paramatma. Jivatma didn't exist. Only Paramatma existed. And then I created me. And since I created it, now I have to hold on. We get very attached to anything we create. But that's not Bhagwan's nature. Bhagwan's nature is udasina. Allows it to come, allows it to go. Space doesn't hold on to the wind. What would happen if space held on to the wind? In my mind, if I allow, like the wind to blow in space, no problems. But I'll hold on. Not to one thing, to so many things. And so, Prakriti, by my force, Prakriti exists where? And this is constantly showing us what we should be doing in terms of our meditation. Prakriti is all this creating. And so, whatever it is that I am creating today, the conversations I'm having, or the food, or the job, or the all of that I am creating comes back to my mind, my thoughts. My mind, my thoughts are moving in consciousness. And so much effort keeps going in this direction. Consciousness is there, then thoughts, and then thoughts become speech, and then speech becomes actions, and actions become reactions, and then those become thoughts, and then thoughts become actions, and then actions become reactions, and reactions becomes thoughts, and then this keeps going. But consciousness gets totally forgotten. And so if I can just remind myself when there's reaction and there's all those thoughts in my head because there's some reaction to something you said, then reaction came from action. Whether it was your action or my action, and chances are I did do something. Because there's no way a consequence can come without me doing an action. And so action came because of thoughts. And thoughts are just shadows playing on consciousness. And so if I go back to consciousness and just rest in consciousness for a while and stop the playing of thoughts, then that momentum gets broken and I can see more clearly. Otherwise, that momentum keeps going. Thought, action, reaction, thought, action, reaction. But the minute I come back to, because it came from consciousness, this verse is very clear. Prakriti comes from me, consciousness. So if I also, from all my thoughts, go back to consciousness, that momentum of the playing of Prakriti will pause. And I'll be able to see clearly. Clearly my own thoughts, clearly my own actions, clearly my own attachments, clearly how I am causing my problems. So, Bhagavan's also saying, I am that power by which everything takes place, but I am not choosing what takes place. Like the petrol in the car allows the car to drive, but the petrol doesn't choose. Go left, go right, speed, don't speed, drive into the wall. Petrol doesn't choose. But without the petrol, nothing can happen. And so now Bhagavan slightly changes the topic. Here there was immense emphasis of all of creation is happening with me as the very foundation and support of all of creation. And now here he's saying, in the Gita, he doesn't call us fools that often. In Bhajagovindam, Shankaracharya calls us fools every verse. And if you listen to Puja Gurudev's talks, Gurudev calls us fools fairly often also. And it's from verses like this, where Krishna says, Avajananti mamuda This verse can be interpreted in different ways. Firstly, not all of us are fools. Mudaha. Who is a mudaha? Jananti mam. When we disregard God, truth, divinity. But here he says very specifically. So actually this, like I said, this verse can be interpreted in many different ways. We can say, layer number one, only fools disregard divinity. But here he specifies, Manushim tanum ashritaha. When I take a human form. Parambhavayam ajananto. They do not know, ajananto is ignorance, my supreme or my higher being, essence. Mama bhutani maheshwaram. I am the cause of all beings, the substratum of all beings. Okay, so first and foremost, Bhagavan here is saying, anyone who denies the existence of divinity is not thinking clearly. The word muda means muddy, muddied vision, which basically means we're not thinking clearly. Because if you look around this world, how can you deny the existence of something higher? Like study any subject, study biology. How? Like, how does this body work so amazingly? Just one organ doesn't work and mayhem. And sometimes it's one small chotu thing that you didn't even know was there. And now it's not working and it's causing so much problems. If you study geography, then ecosystems are mind-blowing. If you study physics, most physicists, starting with Einstein, probably not starting with Einstein, probably before Einstein, but he definitely said it. You can't study physics and not believe there's a higher intelligence. Right? Even if we study things like graphics and the ability to create, and how does that inspiration come? Or you study something like finance and the ability to create such incredible wealth. At some point, the mind becomes filled with awe, and it will turn our attention to the higher. So only someone who's not thinking wouldn't believe that there's a higher. Sure, most people don't have a problem with the fact that there's a higher. Most people have a problem with some kind of organizational religion, especially when you are told do's and don'ts. Again, can we live without do's and don'ts? You think? Can we? Yes. We can? You think? I'm not going to give you all the answer. Don't we make do's and don'ts for ourselves also? We definitely make for our spouses. Don't put this here, put this here. Don't wear this, wear this. We make do's and don'ts for them. They make for us. Those aren't even important do's and don'ts. Right? You can't run anything without order. You can't. Countries all have do's and don'ts. Any organizational will have do's and don'ts. And even in just a casual relationship between friends, there's do's and don'ts. Unspoken rules. You just don't do that to a friend. And so, to get upset that religion has do's and don'ts, that's just silly. Because we can't function without do's and don'ts. They're just general guidelines. And Hinduism doesn't have that many. Hinduism has a lot of choice. I'm not going to focus too much on that, but the first bit of this mantra is to not acknowledge that there's something higher is just foolish. You don't want to listen to it, you don't want to worship it, that's fine. But to at least acknowledge it. And then, if somebody else values it, to totally, completely respect that. This is just courtesy. In today's world, we have so much about being politically correct, huh? You can barely say anything to anyone about anything. But people can say whatever they want about Bhagwan. We are interesting creatures. But then Bhagwan goes on to say, in my human form. Now this can be interpreted as avatar. When Bhagwan takes an avatar, many people don't acknowledge. Yeah? Like they don't, like even when Krishna himself was alive, Duryodhana tried to kidnap him, like Bevakoof. I mean, of course, we can say Bevakoof because we know Krishna was Bhagwan and Duryodhana didn't recognize it, but still. And most people, when Krishna was alive, didn't acknowledge Krishna as Bhagwan. Even the Gopabalas and the Gopis, most of them didn't really know who he was. And so, here he's saying people don't recognize. Now we can think of it as avatar. And in this concept of avatar, it's very clearly said in the Puranas that Santa Mahatma are Nitya avatars. So here too, very often again, people are not able to recognize divinity in Santa Mahatma. Going back to the very first verse of chapter 9, to be able to see good where there is good. Sometimes we're not able to see. And sure, maybe some personality or some organization is not vibing with me. That's fine. They don't need to all vibe with me. But I don't need to. They're doing good work. Very good. Please continue doing good work. Acknowledge that they're doing good work. Even if they're reaching out to very few people, that's still reaching out to people. It's still adding to the collective consciousness of bringing people to have noble thoughts. And so, we are foolish when we don't recognize the presence of divinity around us. By noble people who are striving. Now, not just Santa Mahatma, even fellow seekers. So often, we don't look. And we focus more on flaws than we do on they trying. Like, all of us know this. There's things about ourselves we want to change. Can we change them? We try. We do try. Do we change like that? And yet, when other people have flaws, we know how hard it is to change things in ourselves. They might also be trying. We know it's not easy. We know that even when we genuinely, sincerely trying to change some of the things in ourselves, that default setting is so strong that I succeed only 1 out of every 3 times. But that's still progress. And then it's after quite a bit of effort, I succeed 2 out of every 3 times, but I'm still failing every now and then. Yeah. And so, what is this verse saying? Bhagavan is saying, we don't recognize divinity. So 1, we don't recognize divinity when he comes as an avatar. 2, we don't recognize divinity in great noble saints and sages that may have lived and live around us even right now. And 2, in each other. 3. In 3, in each other. Like this, there's so much sincerity still in this world. There's so much goodness still in this world. And when we want to praise someone, we'll 100% be able to find something to praise about them. And when we don't want to praise someone, even though what's praiseworthy is glaring us in the face, we will refuse. We'll make excuses of why they're good. No, they're not really good. It's just because they want this and they want that. And so here, the idea being, Bhagavan is saying, people don't recognize me when I take a form. It can be in so many different ways. Gurudev here in his commentary talks about, we get too focused on the murtis. When Bhagavan is given a form, then we get fixated on that form and we're not able to see that the idol is representing an ideal. Most of you here would have heard Chinmaya mission talks previously and would be familiar with this concept. So I'm not going to elaborate too much on it. But please read Pujya Gurudev's commentary. Because what he says in his commentary, I haven't said at all. And I focused more on other commentaries because all these beautiful verses in the Gita can be seen in so many different ways. Yeah? And since his commentary is there, and you can read it at your own leisure, I have not covered it now. But his commentary is brilliant. And of course I'm biased, but actually it's brilliant. And so if you don't have a copy of the Gita, please do take one home and attempt reading And after listening, you'll definitely understand more. If you just pick it up and read, you may not understand so much. But after you've listened, you'll definitely understand much, much more. And then it becomes a great reminder. And Gurudev used to insist you'll all have your book in front of you so that you can make sure I'm not lying. You're laughing, but he would actually say that. Because even right now, I've not said anything that Gurudev has said in the book. But you need to be able to read the verse to yourself and check, am I actually talking about the verse or am I just telling you something I think? Yeah. And so here, people who have this disregard for divinity, then unfortunately their lives are being described here as by Krishna as vain. Vain not in the terms of I like the way I look, vain in terms of waste. Yeah. So we'll read number 12 and 13 together. Well, no, actually we'll read only 12. When we disregard divinity, what will happen? We have desires that are extremely extroverted. And then those desires lead to actions that are potentially indulgent, potentially harmful, either to ourselves or other people. And then when we live this life where our desires are so extroverted and we indulge in them, then we gain knowledge about the way that the world works, which is not actually the way the world works. Sometimes people will sit down and when they're talking to me, they'll say, see, everybody is just mean and selfish. And they're out to get us. And I'll think, wow, that's so much pain they must have experienced for them to come to this conclusion about life. Or sometimes when people talk to me, they'll say, it doesn't matter what you do, you'll get kicked and destroyed at the end. And in statements like that, you can hear the pain. Now, they don't say it like it's an opinion. They say it like it's a fact. And so, having lived a particular type of life, you come to a certain kind of conclusion, which then becomes your guiding principle, so your knowledge. And then these people, they live lives that are more rakshasic and asuric. So the Gita will elaborate on this kind of behavior. Chapter 16, I think, Devik asuric qualities. But here it suffices to say that denial of divinity is where we start falling in our ability to uphold virtues, values, beauty, love, selflessness. And when I acknowledge divinity is there, I will still aspire to live like a good person. I'll aspire not to go too far down the dark path. But if God's not there, and I have no one to answer to, my thinking can deteriorate very quickly. I remember in school we read a book called The Lord of the Rings. Some of you might have seen it, read it. Some of you might have watched the movie. It's about a group of high school boys who get stranded on an island. and how they devolve to such animalistic behavior because now there's no culture and structure holding them together. And then there's so many books like this, like leave us to our own vices, take away divinity, and we become so selfish. I think even like, I haven't seen it, but things like the Squid Games and Hunger Games, and it shows how our personality can become so base. And it's because I get so vested in me and my survival and me getting what I want that nothing else matters. And then usually life is not as bad as Squid Games and Hunger Games where we're being killed. But we can get still so invested in me and what I want that we completely lose perspective on things. Again, another book I had read in school, The Great Gatsby. Again, it's a movie and maybe you have seen it. And what was it about? He so desperately wanted to fit into high society. And then party after party and money and then affair and whatnot. And at the end, he's this empty shell of sadness. And that's here. That's what this verse is saying. That when we allow ourselves to not acknowledge the divine, selfishness is going to creep in and desires will become indulgent. And then actions will be to fulfill those desires. And then fulfilling desires doesn't fulfill us. Fulfilling desires either make us feel, and now what? And then we don't enjoy the things anymore, or makes us greedy. And we want more, and we want more, and we want more, and we want more. And of course, it depends what type of desire. Right? Like I desire to help someone, and then I'm fulfilled. But I'm not fulfilled by fulfilling my desire. I'm fulfilled by human connection. Or I desire to get a degree and I work really hard and I get it. I'm not fulfilled by fulfilling my desire. I'm fulfilled by improving myself, knowledge. Yeah. And then other desires, which is just, attend more parties and get more attention and watch more movies. And then those don't fulfill. Because fulfilling desire doesn't fulfill us. And so here Krishna has painted this picture of what happens when we don't acknowledge the divine, because he said foolish people don't. And then now in the next two verses, he'll give the picture of when we do acknowledge the divine. And that's a technique that we see repeated in the Gita often. The two sides are both presented, and then he'll say, choose. So we'll see that tomorrow. We'll pause here for today. Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnam Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.